Hello everyone. Today we bring another new guest, and perhaps this is the guest we are looking for. Long times we are actually discussing on the policy and the policy research, and many of the unique idea. Many of the big scholars from around the world already they joining in World Talent Economy Forum from many university, many corporations, many governmental body, many upcoming president, many more people joining. But what's our major objective? Our objective, we want to focus on policy and we want to create a better policy. And by this way, we want to change human lives. So today we bring another person from India. Everybody know India has a billions of people. So he is a core strategic on the India for changing the policy and creating something valuable with policy research. So hello, Mr. Akram. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm very well. Thank you. How are you, Dr. Sharif?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. Can you please introduce yourself and your dynamic work with our audience?
Thank you. So, my name is Akram Hoque. I'm the founder editor of a digital media startup to be more specific. It's called the Policy Times. My background is that I have worked with a media house in the economic journalism aspect for around 7.5 years. I taught in a management college in the Department of Economics for around 4.5 years. Then I worked with India's leading chamber of commerce. Two of India's leading chamber of commerce are Confederation of Indian Industry and Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, CII and FICCI. After working for around more than 12 years, I realized that a developing country like India, which has a population of 1.35 billion, we need to think out of box. Why a country is a developing country? Because somehow the country is not able to make right policy to make itself into a developed nation, or even if there is a right policy, there is no proper implementation of that policy. Because we lack proper policy making and proper policy implementation, these things are taking or making the countries are called emerging or developing countries. So we realized that in this sort of countries, emerging countries like India, Bangladesh, or Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, many of the and couple of years ago, Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, where you are based in now, Indonesia, these were also emerging or developing countries. But today, they have just moved above the curve and have become a better nations than most of us. We realized that India like countries need a focus towards developmental journalism and policy advocacy, and activism, much aggressive and better way. So we thought, let us come up with a very unique kind of organization. Now, in the current format, if you see in countries like India, there are media houses, prominent media houses, but somehow the orientation of the media houses are towards political news or entertainment or some other areas, but the core policy issues or the developmental issues have very limited space in the media. The second is the think tanks. The think tanks are working in the policy domain, but their influence over the common mass is extremely limited because they work closely with the governments but have no influence on the common mass. The third component or the organizations or stakeholder, we call it, are the Chamber of Commerce. They are too exclusive for the business community. So we thought that this is a time for change. We need to bring all these sort of organizations under one umbrella. So I thought of coming up with an organization which will have the component of a media, of a think tank, and of a chamber of commerce. So if in India we can bring all these three components together under one umbrella, that is the need of the hour and will be a game changer and turning point for developing countries like India. So that's the background of the policy times. Dr. Sharif.
Yes, thank you. This is very nice discussions. I want to know, even India has a huge populations. Even when we find, even recent year we find that Indian people, Abhishek Banerjee, even get Nobel for economics, developing economics and the policy. He is famous for that. So what are the challenging situation right now in COVID-19 situation? What you want to explain with us? What the healthcare system of economy? What's the things happening inside India, and how the global community can make a global relationship with the India for that particular situation?
I think excellent question, Dr. Sharif. And I think I'll have to take a couple of minutes to answer this. Now, for our viewers, Policy Times has been doing around, we have done around 90 programs on various sectors, especially mostly on the education sector, because we realized that education sector is worst hit by this, and a large number of stakeholders are involved in the education sector. Now, I tell you first, COVID is not a normal phenomena. It's an unprecedented phenomena across the world, and it is a turning point in the human history. So just like the World War One, World War Two, we saw, COVID is the third World War that will have deep impact in anyone's life. Now we saw that how, and we are witness the way America, the most advanced and powerful country like America, is struggling to fight COVID, is a and also Europe is a testimony to the fact that how deep is the issue. Now, the issue started from China. There are two aspects of. I'm going very deep. I'll talk from the geopolitical perspective, from the economic perspective, and then from the developing countries perspective. India being the leader in the developing countries front. Number one, this is the World War III. The world needs to realize that COVID-19 is a World War III. 30 to 40 years before, even when I was a kid learning, it was said very clearly, all the intellectuals said that the Third World War will be a war of biological weapons. This will not be a war of bullets. And believe me, that till now, not even a single bullet was used and used, and neither will be used. But I think millions of people will die, but more than that, the world economy will be shattered, completely shut down, and a huge amount of the largest depression that the human history has ever witnessed will be this one. Now, if that is the fact, and this also, the COVID 19, the post COVID 19 will be an era where the superpower status will be redefined and realigned. So, as of now, till date, America, United States is the superpower. Post COVID, China will be the undisputed superpower of the world. Now, imagine that a democratic as well as a capitalist country like America being superpower has written the history in a different way. You saw most of the countries are emerging as democracies and capitalists across the globe. Like India was a socialist country. Today it is more of a capitalist country. So is Bangladesh, Vietnam, you see Europe, and most of the countries, you saw the rise and emergence of capitalism and democracy. China being the superpower, China has a complete different history, a complete different socio-cultural and economic system. Now, China will have a complete different connotation and influence in the global economic, political, and social structure. Whether we accept this fact today or not, but today, without a Chinese manufacturing, no industry can function in the world. But as I am talking from India, I want to buy a lot of tabs or laptops or smartphones. The amount of crisis that we see just because we don't want to import anything from China is massive. No country can replace what China has done in last 40 years. So let us accept the fact the amount of investment that China has done. across the world. Why I am focusing on China more than 5 minutes in our discussion today is because we do not realize the deep root that China has created in the global economy, in the global politics, in the global social life. Now we need to realize it. Whether it is good or bad, we need to see. Because whether American leadership was good or bad, we all know. We saw many wars. We saw Gulf wars. We saw devastated Middle East because of America. We saw the rise of terrorism globally. America is the real terrorist country in the world, but the world has not seen the way it is, because any superpower who rise up will be the biggest terrorist country in the world. But how it redefines the terms called terrorism, war, and all these terms will be, very interesting to see in this new phenomena that is going to come. Coming about the part of developing countries like India, imagine when we had the COVID crisis, the biggest challenge is the healthcare, crisis. You you have this in front of us. America has the largest number of cases, followed by Brazil, now India, Russia. These are all affected countries. What I want to say, and I was mentioning about the biological warfare. You saw that a virus starting from Wuhan has traveled to all countries. The cases in Bangladesh is rising. The cases in rural India is rising today. How come a virus has reached to a rural India but has not crossed the border of Wuhan and spread in Beijing, spread in Shenzhen, or spread in any part of the world? How is it possible that a virus which has spread deep into Latin America but could not cross the border of Wuhan? This is just impossible fact to accept. That means
Mhm.
it's a huge conspiracy that is yet to unfold, and the world is at the at its footstep on this. Now, coming back to the developing countries that I want to talk about, India being the leader, India is massively struggling uh, to take care of its mass from this coronavirus. The cases are rising per day. The cases are like 40,000, 38,000. From 30,000, now it is crossing 40,000 per day cases. But now in India, now the biggest medicine of the corona is its tests. How many tests are done in a country? In India, merely 7,000 tests are done against a million, which
Mhm.
is nothing. Which is nothing. Even if a normal survey is conducted in the economic field, the sample size of 7,000 in a million cannot be even considered a legitimate figure for a survey, which means India has at least 10 to 20 times more cases than the normal number I've seen. But the biggest satisfaction is that the death rate is low. The Indians are recovering more than the number of cases. So that's the positive part of it. The other part, I have been saying this, this will be the biggest test of Indian healthcare sector.
Mhm.
This will be the corona crisis will be the biggest test. How can India reform its healthcare sector? We saw marginally India has improved in the healthcare sector, but largely people are at the mercy of God and a very mere average healthcare system. The rich can afford the private healthcare services. The poor are still struggling for the government healthcare. So there is no major change in the healthcare sector. But the economic crisis that countries like India and all the emerging and all the advanced countries are going to face is massive. And the world needs to introspect, especially countries like India, Bangladesh, and all these emerging countries, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, because the MSMEs, they are the backbone of these countries, but MSMEs are dying like bubbles. If you don't protect them, they die like bubbles. And especially in poor countries like India, since the education sector is weak and the government support base is meager and corruption level is extremely high, you don't see much positivity in this, because people are so good and they are the really struggling people. They know how to fight. They are fighters. They don't depend on government. They don't depend on any other external factors because they are fighters. They live of their own. They know they have to recover themselves. That's why perhaps countries like India will survive.
Mhm.
Dr.
Yes,
Sharif.
yes, this is very good explanation. I just want to share some of my personal experience even from Malaysia. Let's say even I focus on South Asia, even India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, they are struggling a lot. Even though personally I know economically there are many big corporations, many big companies, even in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh has. On the other hand, like if I focus on the Malaysian market, let's say if you see that Malaysia has like very few amount of people actually affected by the COVID-19. Second things like if you say that death rate also very low. I think 123 people died, 8,700 something people actually affected by the COVID-19. Even if you see in Singapore, I think their rate is higher than Malaysia. But what my observation, it's as a neutral observation. If I focus on the Malaysian, they are very disciplined. They are very disciplined. Government has a good initiative as well as much people. They are good. They have. They are very disciplined. I do not find any people they are fighting for. They will wearing mask or not. They do not fighting for that. They will go inside the house or not. When government says stop, you have to go inside. Everybody. So it's my personal opinion. Like example, if you ask, let's say we are from the Muslim country and Asia Pacific, and we have around 32 million people right now in Malaysia. So you do not think that cultural issues, even example, I'm from Bangladesh. Even I know the deep history of Bangladesh. That cultural and other issue also creating the more challenging. It's not a China, Wuhan, or Chinese community more disciplined than Indian community. Like I'm also from the Indian community. So what's your observation? It's my neutral understanding. I'm just sharing my
You,
views. What do you think?
Dr. Sharif, you touched a very, historical perspective and a very deep question. I tell you, I always think like this. What is the problem with this this subcontinent, the issue with Bangladesh, Pakistan, India,
Yes.
a bit of Nepal and Bhutan. Nepal and Bhutan are slightly different. Sri Lanka is slightly different. Bhutan is also. Nepal is very much like us. The issue is so deep that I don't know where to start. Uh, why did how could British rule India for 200 years, the Indian subcontinent? You need to understand this. What is the difference between India and China? A Chinese are mentally trained to work for 14 hours or 16 hours. In India, India or Bangladesh or this entire subcontinent. Now, when I'm talking about India, I'm talking about the subcontinent. So it is a very famously said that India is a country of billion opinions.
Mhm.
Now earlier we used to say India is a country of billion ideas, but actually India is a country of billion opinions. Opinions means everyone knows what to do, but no one does what should be done for the country.
Mhm.
First problem is that the caste system that is deeply rooted in countries like in India and subcontinent, the caste system, whether it is in the Hinduism, the prominent religion in India, or in Islam. So in Islam also the Shia, Sunni, and a lot of these castes that are there.
Mhm. True,
These
true.
are very very disturbing and regressive and very archaic things which should be deeply rooted out from this. And how do we fight against this? Is a universal education system.
Mhm.
Education is the only solution for this crisis to recover. Unfortunately, since independence, if you see the political structure of these countries, you know why are so the people discipline you mentioned about, the people who are politicians, they are the people who are bureaucrats, they are the people. Since the discipline and behavior and ethical standard of the people are wrong, All the politicians are wrong. See, in India or in the Indian subcontinent, most of the political leaders who are elected are having criminal backgrounds or have deep criminal records, including rape and mass murder, killing. So when a politician comes from that background, what kind of service do you expect from politicians from that thing? The bureaucrats and the judiciary, the corruption is so deep in the system, you can't even register an NGO for your social service without bribing any official. That's the amount of corruption in this country that you have. You want to do business, you want to do anything. Like, even if you want to construct a building, you have to pay at least 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees, Indian rupees, to the police, nearby police station. Otherwise, whether you are right or you are wrong or whatever, but the bribe is so deeply rooted that it has actually collapsed the very foundation, or the very foundation of the system. Now, what we have to do? Where are we wrong? Number one, the priorities of the nation has never been set right. First of all, countries like India should make 10% GDP contribution towards education. India, Bangladesh, Nepal, or Pakistan, or Sri Lanka, all these countries can never be superpower or advanced countries without having 10% of their investment on education. And very unfortunately, very disappointingly, that our GDP contribution towards education is meagerly 2.5% or below, even in all countries. I'm not giving comparison. Number two is the healthcare. Number three is agriculture. Number four would be definitely industry, MSMEs. These are basic calculations. Number five can be defense. These are basic calculations. I think a lot of people know these. All the people in power knows this. Everyone knows this, but they can't implement this. That's the problem. Now we need to reorient ourselves, and that's why Policy Times has taken this initiative that we will always focus on the core issues and we will bring the voice. Unfortunately, if you see in the Bangladesh media, in Indian media, in all this media, I am so happy to see that people in Malaysia, normal people like us, they have launched or they are launching a TV channel on SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Why? Because they know how important SDGs are from the national growth perspective. In India, it is taught in classrooms, okay, or in university. What is the SDG? But when it comes to implementation, there is poor connection with SDGs. Now in the COVID crisis, these are on the epic books, mythology books. This SDG. In India, if you see, or Bangladesh, or all these countries, Pakistan is a mess, complete mess, a shattered country. In their TV channels, you can't watch a TV channel debate. Like if you watch a 1 hour TV debate, you get mentally sick. You find that the world is at war. People are fighting. And no one no one have any clue why people are fighting. What is the issue? What are they fighting for? And they're fighting for a nonsense issue of, this thing. Now, I don't want to again go further on this, but one small thing, when in the country like India is fighting for such a big, massive problem like Corona, our political parties are buying and selling MLAs and MPs, the electoral representatives. Why? Because for them, gaining or regaining power is more important than actually bringing development. And this is just not true for India. The same is with Pakistan, same is with Bangladesh, same with this Nepal. What the Nepal Prime Minister is doing is playing a pretty dirty politics. Like he started taking out deep mythological things that Lord Ram was born in Nepal, not in Bangladesh. And what he is doing? Playing a puppet role of China and, trying to malign India's mythological thing. So that's the problem with this country. So now, what China has very nicely done, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, I don't know much about, but their administration are under pressure to bring development. Their politics is like positive, developmental politics. Just like we Palestinians is doing developmental journalism, their competition is we have to create employment for our people. Otherwise, they will revolt against us. We have to bring more industry in our country. Otherwise, our country will not be the superpower. And our people have to work for 14 to 18 hours a day. Otherwise, we can't be the leader of the world. In India, the game is, or Indian subcontinent, the game is exactly opposite of it. And that's why you see all this. Yeah, Dr. Sharif.
Yes, yes. This is very interesting discussion. Even there are very good audience response. Humara Tanzila, she said, "Hello, sir. It's an amazing discussion. Thank you for your explanation." Sharita Sharma, she said, "Patent observations." Salman Ahmed, important question and policy concern raised by the Mr. Akram regarding the pandemic spread and healthcare sector of India. This is actually nice discussion. Our audience actually observing, and they are also trying to interact with you. So one specific point, like example, when we move globally, let's say Indian people, now they have many talent. When you are discussing about education system, Indian people now they are in many important positions around the world. Even I said that okay, recent years like Indian economists get Nobel Prize on economics. On the other hand, like let's say US big company running by the Indian people. So what's the way? Like example in Malaysia, I can say like there are some policy researcher. I welcome them. I discuss that how you develop yourself, your country, your system, your policy. They say that when we finish our masters and this kind of things, Malaysian government send me in USA, in Europe, and we finish our research. Then we come back. They give us position. Now we are working. Why these pandemic situations actually we are very successful because of administration, good administration, and all of the administration learned from USA, from Europe, all of the developed nations. Now they are working for Malaysian main administration. Actually yes, politicians actually giving the backup for the Malaysian. You can check, you can Google the Malaysian situation. Politicians actually giving backup to this administrators. They are playing a front line games, and they are actually successful. But my question is that India is full of talent people, huge talented people actually moving here and there around the world, big corporations CEO from India. But what's their contributions? Why they don't think in that way? Like Malaysia, even Malaysia compared to India is very small country. Like for development aspects, why don't they think that we should get support from our talent people from abroad? Or what's the internal scenario of when they're making policy for their country, when they're developing their policy for India and other things?
Thank you. I think another brilliant question. And I tell you, this again will have a deep answer and long answer. Number one, India will have the largest number of youth by 2030. Then China will be aging. India will be India will have the largest number of youth. Now, this is an amazing advantage for any country. A country of 1.35 billion is always like this. Now, my only fear is that this is an amazing natural resources. This has to be properly utilized. If this same natural resources will become your biggest weakness if you don't train them or don't skill them. Now, Indian government has launched a massive campaign like Skill India, a Skill India campaign through which it wanted to train kids or Indian youth into different lines. Partially, that campaign has been partially successful and partially failure. Now, COVID has put everyone in the backyard. Number one, India has to do it massively. First, so you mentioned about a lot of Indian youth are extremely successful abroad. Like all the Fortune 500 company CEOs are now Indian, and they are contributing massively. They are contributing back also. Like Google has now announced that they will invest back in India 30,000 crore rupees, Indian rupees. like a couple of billion dollars. A lot of PepsiCo under the leadership of Indira Nui has invested back a huge amount of money in India. Facebook, lot of these companies will definitely make a route for investment in India. They all are also under tremendous, like under close touch with our political leadership, especially under the prime ministership of Sri Narendra Modi. They are in close touch. They regularly advise Indian policymakers that how skill development in India can be done. Indian NRI diaspora has been contributing regularly, just like the Chinese diaspora. But China's internal economic reforms are extremely well. And that's why, your FDI policy or NRI policy has to be very nicely supported by your internal reform process. So if your NRI network is very strong, but your internal reform process is weak, whether it is land reform, whether it is FDI clearance, whether it is other bureaucratic and logistical support system that you need to bring in a country, then it makes a huge lot of difference what is your internal reform process. So India is struggling slightly a bit because it's a huge country. It is actually a federal state, and so state and center complex rules and regulations, implementation of policies or law makes it very complicated. The other social perspective, countries like in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, or Pakistan, they don't respect their talents when they are at home. All the IIT graduates, Indian Institute of Technology, the famous, the most reputed institute, their talents are often not respected in India. But when they go abroad, they really excel there. And you have, and why Indians are excelling in abroad better than in India is because, like myself, like I am from West Bengal, but my respect in Bengal would not have been nice had I stayed back in Bengal and pursued what I am doing it today. Since I came to Delhi and I have done much better work under the different environment and amount of pressure and then different help. Now when I do anything in Bengal, Bengali people recognizes me.
Mhm.
And they know that okay, this guy has done something in Delhi, and then he's definitely like the Nobel laureate you mentioned about. So we often actually fail to recognize their talent in India. When foreigners recognize them, we start recognizing them. This is actually our genetic mistake.
Mhm.
I would term that.
Yes, yes. No, this is very nice discussions, and what I find that you have a very good understanding about the South Asia. Actually, I want to say one third of the population actually live in South Asia. So you are discussing about India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, even Sri Lanka. So I just want to know, like example, let's say I want to give you a hypothesis, something like that. India and South Asia, they are very open, right? Open, because anyone get want to get entered to India and the South Asia, they get chance. Even it's in Bangladesh, even it's India, even it's Pakistan, whatever it is, any of the big company, any of the big power, easily they can get in. On the other hand, if you see China, they are very much defensive country. I'm very honest with you. They are very much defensive country. What, like they are not open with their others countries' technology, with Facebook, this that. They build up their own technology. They have their own talents. They are trying to nurture them. They are yes, they go abroad and they give them chance. They come back China and developing these things. What do you think? Is there any policy weakness that we are? Even I'm from subcontinent. We are too much of open. That's why we have many issues. On the other hand, China is too much of defensive, and then they're maintaining their economy and their manufacturing industry. That's why they are rising. What do you think? I do not want to say this is true, but I want to say this is a hypothesis. How do you want to prove with your debate? Is it true? Yes.
I agree with you. The Chinese people are as good as Indian subcontinent people. The people in terms of people, but Chinese government is extremely shrewd, and they
Mhm.
know how to get things done. And they are under tremendous level or amount of stress that if the people revolt, then they will lose power. Now,
Mhm.
that pressure always keeps them alert in terms of bringing more development, keeping people engaged into work or something, so that there is no political revolution. So, at any cost, China cannot and will not afford any political revolution. So, we need to understand this fact, and that
Mhm.
is why they will never allow Facebook or this kind of thing, because they have a very surveillance system in their country, that even if 10 people come together, the government or the police are watching that very closely, so that there is no social or political revolution. Given that, China, because they culturally they are same, like India is a very diverse country,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
diverse that there are 29 countries within India, in all
Mhm.
29 states. Like
Mhm.
29 states have different food, different culture, different color of people, different song, different language. Everything is different. So it is so difficult to compare India with China that
Mhm.
it's almost impossible to compare. Now, what China made the country very disciplined. The Chinese government is 200 to 500 times more efficient in attracting FDI and in giving a very different kind of support to industry. For example, if any Australian, American, European company goes to China
Mhm.
and say that I need 100 acres of land and this amount of infrastructure and this support, the Chinese government is able to provide that within a week. Even they
Mhm.
can build buildings within a week. They give
Mhm.
complete support to your FDI. So complete FDI protection, complete infrastructure support, and huge tax rebate. I give you an example that 10 years ago, the per capita income of an average Chinese was around 10,000 Indian rupees. And
Mhm.
today it is 9 lakh 45,000 Indian rupees. So the cheap labor, the very conducive tax regime, and huge infrastructural support and FDI protection and speed and transparency has given or made China the global manufacturing hub. India is massively struggling in this.
Mhm.
Bangladesh has done tremendously well in the textile sector, but it is also not able to do in other sectors. The education
Mhm.
sector slightly has done better. Healthcare sector, it has not done much better. So
Mhm.
healthcare, agriculture, your water security, I would say, like environment or climate change or water security. India, a couple of years later, a lot of cities, Indian urban cities, will be short of water. Just like many South African cities, Bangladesh will have water security issues. Many of these emerging countries will have massive water security issues. Half of Delhi, New Delhi, the capital of India, drinks arsenic or normal water by private water dealers. 20-liter bottle for 20 rupees. That's the water, price that people buy water from private dealers. Imagine it is now 10 years later or 5 years later, this will be extremely so. Now, Indian government does not have that kind of foresightedness or futuristic strategy to see that. Chinese are slightly different. They are much more aggressive. Even not only Chinese, Vietnamese are better because they also play politics. There is also politics in Vietnam, but they always put nation first, development first over dirty politics.
Mhm. 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 Okay, this is actually really really nice discussions. I agree with you because from Asia Pacific I have chance to understand their policy and their way of thinkings and their actually national strategy. I can understand this is actually right approach you are moving. But my observation is that like there are a little bit of tension in between USA and China as well as China and India. How you want to analyze these situations based on your policy analysis? Yeah.
Excellent question. The foreign policy paradigm will change. The
Mhm.
world was unipolar after the fall of Russia. USSR. America became the dominant power of the world. America ruled. Europe fell. Now the world will be a multipolar world with China being at the center, economically, militarily, and in all possible parameters. Remember that after World War II, after the GATT all agreement and all, this powers, the world powers, have made a hefty fine against Germany for Jews massacre and for the World War II. And the Germany is still paying that hefty amount of debt to Jews or Israel and a lot of the other developing countries. I think it is high time. The world politics is changing, will change. America is no longer the superpower. The world should accept this fact that American dominance is gone. A fool president like Trump has destroyed a superpower and beautiful advanced country, exemplary country like America. Just imagine that how a beautiful democracy can fall by electing a nonsense, illegitimate, and nonsense political leader like Trump. What can be a failure of an advanced democracy by electing a president like Trump, who does not? So he might be a billionaire. He made $1 billion through his wealth in the real estate business. A real estate tycoon doesn't like qualify to be a prime minister. And most of these democracies are electing wrong people as their head, and that is why also democracies have started falling. Democracies have fallen in America. Europe is struggling hard to, so Europe has a socialist model. That's why Europe is better. In the Indian subcontinent, countries will die, democracies will fall because of electing the wrong people in power. Now, the world has to come together. All this, America, India, Southeast Asian countries, Europe, they have to come together to actually impose a hefty fine against China. If they don't do that, if they don't stop China, imagine China as a superpower in next 50 years will be a complete redefinition of history, geoeconomics of the world, than America being it. The world will see a huge amount of disruption. I tell you, the technology sector will be massively disrupted if the world does not surrender to China or get a replacement of it. The mobile phone, the laptop, the smartphones, every technology gadgets that we are using, we use a semiconductor, we call it FAB factory. China is the center of that. No country can replace that. I was doing a study yesterday. Unless you have your semiconductor manufacturing plants in any country, you can never beat China. China controls almost 90 to 95% business. You can make all the parts. You can make the body of the laptop that we are using. You can make everything. Semiconductor plant, one small semiconductor plant requires an investment of $4 to $7 billion. Do you think that countries like India, countries like Vietnam, countries like Bangladesh can afford it? Japan can, Taiwan can, but they don't. Their cost of production is so high. China's biggest achievement is the kind of quality that China can give at the rate no one in the world can give it today. Semiconductor, unless you start having replacement factories in other countries of the world, the IT sector will fall. Without China, the IT sector cannot survive. The Indian IT sector is massively struggling because we have imposed massive ban on the Chinese IT products. And believe me, it cannot survive much longer because we can't make this amount of investment in India, the investment required to replace China and to come up with that quality and standard and with that affordable price.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, this is a very deeper understanding you have about the China economy, Indian economy, and the global context. I just want to know. what will be the future as India has more youth in their hand, and they are also a big economy, and they also have different interesting issues in their hand. So, what will be the better strategy for South Asia? Because I understand that you have a better policy understanding of South Asia.
Very nice question. India it is the perfect moment for India. It is a perfect moment for India. The entire world sees India as brother and a very nice country. India is the only country in the world after independence in last 70 years. India has only lost its borders, its territory. It has gifted land to Bangladesh, it has gifted lands to Pakistan, it has gifted lands to China. There is no other country in the world that exists can say it is the most peace loving country in the world, and people genuinely respect India. And India
Mhm.
has all possible resources, whether it is the land, whether it is the geography, whether it is the people, whether it is the climate. I mean, you can find every climate that exists in the world in India in some part of the country. It is such a beautiful country. It is such a nice country. It is such a positive country. There is massive amount of negative sensitivity about China, but extreme positive sensitivity about India. Whether it is in Europe, it is in Latin America, it is in Australia, it is in Canada, it is in America, it is in Southeast Asia, even India's
Mhm.
neighborhood. People love India. There are some complaints that we move slow, we are big, we have a little bureaucracy. But I think if India can show exemplary leadership, and we have a very bold prime minister, he is often confused with domestic policies with the international policies, but he has taken a very strong initiatives on many fronts. The kind of leadership he has established with America, with Europe, with other European countries, I think India can give exemplary leadership. There are a couple of internal introspection and external, policy foresightedness that we have to see. Number one, we need to initiate massive amounts of internal reforms along with the external changes happening. COVID-19 is a crisis. The bigger the crisis, the bigger is the opportunity. COVID-19
Mhm.
is as big as an opportunity as it is a crisis. It is a perfect moment for a country like India. And I think if India can use it, we can be the real respected. We don't need to be a superpower. We don't need to show the world that we conquer you or we dominate you, or you should be afraid of me, you surrender to me. India is not a country like that. India always behave like a brother. Sometimes a big brother for Bangladesh, like Bangladesh might feel okay, he's behaving like a big brother. But believe me, do you think we behave more like China to
No,
Pakistan?
from my background, I can say my father was a freedom fighter. So
Right.
I learned from him how India contribute in
Exactly.
1971. Even he bring me even up to Kolkata, India, and he said why we live, why we do training, we getting support from India. I know that historically we have a very good relationship. There are different aspects, but I'm very open minded. Okay, I'm very open minded. I love to learn. Okay.
Right. So India has that kind of image in the world, and it has a perfect moment. We just need to bring some changes, internal reforms, and align certain things to that. The world will come to us, and India will actually dominate. Not dominate. India will one day lead the world in a very nice way. See, India has brought leaders or gifted leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. The kind
Mhm.
of philosophy and ideology he has and he has given to the world is well known, and India is actually known for that kind of leadership. And I wish that our political leadership learns that and really set an example of a Mahatma Gandhi like philosophy, and Vivekananda, Netaji, these kind of leaders, the way they have set examples. I think we are waiting that sort of revolution in India to give a different kind of leadership.
Yes, yes. Yes, definitely. India has a very good leader like Mahatma Gandhi. Even intellectual society, they more recognize Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose for his contribution, and many intellectual people still believe that his contribution is much more bigger. Anyway, these are different issues. There are some good questions and good feedback from the audience. Dhruvo Patnikar, he said good goings. Mohammad Shoail Rana, he said great discussion. As a policymaker, please can you tell us how can we do to reduce the dependency as a national strategy? Like he want to know how we can reduce dependency. Even one thing just I want to add, like example, as we have a core relation with South Asia, like South Asian, what do you think, like even in present challenging situation, let's say Nepal, they are taking different strategy, making relationship with India. On the other hand, let's say Pakistan has a lot of issue with India, but I believe that we have a good chance that we can reduce this problem. India, Bangladesh is, yes, they are very good friend, but even recently there are some big business deals and business relationship with the China. There are different point of views coming. What do you think for these geopolitical issues, and especially when the question come about the national strategy, like how this kind of country become economically more efficient, more effective, and what type of policy we can take?
I think huge question, and again, I mean, lot of a
Yes,
lot
yes.
of things to share. Now, I'll just club. I may not justify the answer to this question, but I'll
Mhm.
just try to. I will dare to answer. There are from three aspects we should analyze this. One is the national interest front, economic front, the national security front, terrorism front, and then border front. So there are a couple of areas that we should look at this subject. But before going to that, let me just answer this basic things also. And that the question Sohail Rana has asked, that the number of think tanks that we have in India is very less, or in Bangladesh, or this Indian subcontinent
True,
I'm talking about.
true, true.
Imagine our humanities, arts, the student or parents, the students who score the lowest level of marks go into humanities or arts.
Mhm.
And those who can't do anything in life, they go into arts. But
Mhm.
arts, humanities, strategy, political science, these are very important subject for countries, to do that. Since we have weak humanities departments in different universities within Indian subcontinent, we created poor think tanks. Even less number of a country of 1.35 billion, we rarely have 10, 15 think tanks in the country, and half of them are owned by government. Do you
Mhm.
think that India can have a mature strategy? The second is Indian people, the people mindset. Like people want to watch a video or a debate where a Hindu Muslim debate is going on, like a
Mhm.
debate where there is a mob lynching or there is some nonsense topics is going on. They love to watch those stories, or a sun is falling or a moon is falling. So sometimes nonsense mythological things. Sometimes news channels run drama serials of TV channels. Why? Because people love to watch them more, even in the news channels. So that's the kind of mentality of the people. What are media? Media shows what people want to see. When people's
Mhm.
mindset are so dirty, so backward, then media does that. Media sells what people want to see. So first, we need to educate media. We need to strengthen our humanities departments in all the universities. We have to give a different connotation to the context of education. The education sector in Indian subcontinent is archaic. It's completely outdated. Believe me, that you go to a university vice chancellors have done a PhD 20, 25 years ago on a very archaic different topic. He has no idea about the current connotations, the current perspectives, the current technological intervention in our life in different sectors. So there is no skill set training sessions or programs in universities. There is no entrepreneurial education in universities, though university is not like the university or education and industry connect is not there. So this is just one part of the answer that I said. So we need to strengthen our humanities departments. We have around 1,000 universities in India. The humanities department should be the brain of Indian policy making, especially the foreign policy or political science policies or a different policy. That's one part. Second thing, the border issue. India shares a largest amount of border with China and Pakistan. And
Mhm.
border issue is a very sensitive issue.
Definitely.
China has beaten Russia on the border issue because Russia shares maximum border on China, and this Xi Jinping, the Chinese premier, the very underdog, and the person who is, the much you see, the deeper is much dark and clouder person. This guy has threatened Russia that if you do anything, I will open the border, I will make your border a mess. Don't mess with me. That's how China is controlling Russia.
Mhm.
China is trying to control India in a similar fashion, in a similar manner. Pakistan is a like dirty dog. Normally it's like dirty. Pakistan's political system, the army, the ISI is a dirty dog. They're nonsense, foolish people. They have no idea about development. This Pakistani nonsense, selfish guys. These guys go to America, London, and pursue higher studies. Very nice, educated fellow. Come back and join politics and join the dirty politics. Play the dirty politics. Come fall prey to the ISI and all these people. The problem is Imran Khan was slightly different, and
Mhm.
he has shown something good in the country. In fact, during a tussle with India, Imran Khan has shown a much better leadership quality than many other leaders in the world. So that's I think one of the rare leader that came in Pakistan. This border issue is going to make things sensitive. National security issue, because Kashmir is a very sensitive issue. Now, this Pakistan, China, and Kashmir triangle makes things extremely complicated. So we have external enemies, we have internal discontent, and we have a weak democratic federal structure. Makes things very complicated within us. But now we have a very strong leadership, and so all this. So your point, I think I'm mixing a lot of things. Your
Mhm.
question was, how do we become better? How do we make better
Yes,
strategies?
yes, exactly, exactly.
That's why our education system will have to support a lot. NGO, civil society, the CSR units, the corporate social responsibility investment has to be massively done in the social science research, in all the
Mhm.
think tanks and all. So that way, I think we can frame better policy. When we have better policy, the policy researchers should collaborate with media so that there is better sensitization of policy issues among common mass. The common mass should be fed that 10% GDP contribution in education is pertinent for or to become an advanced country. That's why India should invest maximum, like the think tank, media, CSR. They should like make this agenda that India will die. India will have a massive issue if India does not take care of the agriculture. We are
Mhm.
agriculture-based economy. 60 to 70% people are dependent on agriculture. Unfortunately, the attention, the policy attention agriculture sector gets is extremely matter. Now, see, no industrialization can survive without food security.
Mhm.
Food security is the basic right for human. Just like today, digital connectivity is a basic right today. If India, like today, the biggest and massive challenge before India or Bangladesh today, I had a session with two medical, professors of Bangladesh,
Mhm.
two medical colleges. I said, have you introduced computer science in your MBBS course? If you have not, you are backward. And in 15 years down the line, you might have to operate or do a surgery using artificial intelligence. Are you preparing your today's kids for that to take help of that technology?
Mhm.
Today, India or Indian subcontinent countries have a massive challenge of enabling the kids with the digital connectivity. Digital
Mhm.
connectivity is a basic right today. You have to give a tab, you have to give a smartphone or a laptop to your kid. If you can't, the corona crisis, in the worst case scenario, if the we might have to live with corona for lifetime, just like we
Mhm.
are living with HIV. But HIV is different than corona. If humanity has made progress or human science have made progress, we might find a cure in next 10 years. If we have made exemplary progress, we might find a cure in 2 years, but not less than 2 years. But if India failed to provide digital connectivity, 10 million Indian kid will lose schools, will be deprived of education. That is just one small figure I gave you. The actual number is much more. So Indians will have to think in that context. Not only Indians, all the poor countries will have to think in that context. Right.
Yes, yes, very good. There are last question from the audience. So, question is that should we act as a competitor or a collaborator with our neighbors state to overcome from the economic downturn in the future? Like in present situation, there are a lot of economic challenges. So, what do you think? How we actually play as a India actually let's say South Asian leader, okay, economy wise and human resources and many more things. How they can play a role with the South Asian other countries as a competitor or as a collaborative partner, and how it will be possible.
Excellent, brilliant question. I think by your audience,
Mhm.
one of the secrets of success in the future is going to be collaboration and partnership. You know, post COVID era is an era of collaboration, cooperation, and partnership. India, believe me, it is a slow elephant. It's a big elephant, but believe me, India can be your most trusted partner, because India does not go to you because India wants to acquire you or control you. India goes to you because India wants to partner with you in your growth. My clear message to my brothers and sisters in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in Nepal, in Sri Lanka, that China can give you money, but we give you trust, faith, and partnership. Our partnership is without conditions of economic gain, economic superiority, and all this. Some of our politicians act differently sometimes, but uh, but they are also part of us. And Indians are very much like Bangladeshis or Pakistanis, or we are the same. It is just like 70 years ago we got divided. Because if today Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh are same before the independence, we are the superpower of the world today. I think we should see, we might not share border again, or maybe we might not eliminate border again. I don't know. Maybe if that is possible one day, I would be the happiest person in the world that one day Pakistan, China, and India is just one country. At least if it can't, let us be friends, including Nepal. Let us be friends, unconditional friends, not friends with conditions. I think this will be a turning point in the geopolitical history of the world.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, this is actually very nice discussions. Even in future World Talent Economy Forum, we are actually working on the UN 17 goals and a lot of sustainable issues and other things we are working. So we're gonna invite you, your policy times, hopefully with your analysis, with your research, with your contributions we can make better economy, we can make better systems, and we can make better collaboration partnerships, and that's the way we can make some sort of progression in our personal life and our in between our community. So thank
Always.
you, thank you. Yes, thank
Thank you
you
so
for.
much. Always. Thank you so much for the nice interaction, Dr. Sharif.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It's a nice discussions, and definitely we're going to invite you more for policy discussions. Thank you,
Always, always be
thank you,
ready.
thank you, thank you.